felt very privileged that I was able to teach from the Netivot Shalom, and I wanted to just share one little insight that he says in his Perush on Ben HaMitzarim. It says something very, very beautiful. It says that when the daughter of Paro, Bat Paro, when she sees Moshe Rabbeinu in the water and she sees the teva, the pasuk says the following: Vatiftach vatireu. She opens the teva to see, and she sees the child. Vatireu et hayeled, v'hinei nar boche, and the child is crying. So what does she say? Vatachmol alav. She has compassion over the child. Vatomer miyaldei ha'ivrim zeh. She says this child is a Jew. And the commentaries all ask the question, how did she know he was a Jew? And they give many, many different answers, right? One answer that they give is that she saw that he had a Brit Milah. Another answer that they give, and that's the most obvious answer, is what? That of course, who else in their right mind would send a baby in a teva on the river and throw them out? Except for a Jewish family who they knew, Kol haben hayilod hayeora tashlichu. Right? Every Jewish child, they knew the child was in danger, and a parent wanted to save their child. And that's the different answers that the commentaries give, but there's a beautiful, beautiful answer that the Netivot Shalom gives. And in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think it's the Pshat. And he asks a very good question. He says like this. He says, first of all, the Pasuk already tells us exactly why she identifies him as a Jew. It says, V'hinei nar boche. He's crying. And when she hears his cries, she says he's a Jewish child. So comes along the Netivot Shalom and he says, that must be the reason how she knows that he's a Jew. Listen to his words. I just want to read it to you. Shem mibichiato, from his crying, hikira shehu Yehudi. From his cries, she knew that he was a Jewish child. Kira ata, because she saw sheboche bechi shel tikva. This was not normal crying. She saw that when he was crying the cries of hope. And when she realized that he was crying the cries of hope, she said, only a Jew cries that way. Only a Jew cries not out of anguish or despair, but out of hope. And so she said, V'lo bechi shel yeush vatomer. And then she said, Mi'aldei ha'ivrim ze zohi bechi Yehudit. That's the cry of a Jew. I think it's such an amazing explanation of the Netivot Shalom, and I think in many ways when I just read this Netivot Shalom last week, and I said to myself that in many ways it really talks about the kinds of students that we got at Beirut Bat Ayin. What do I mean by that? I'm not saying that you cried.
You're not saying everyone is emotional.
What I'm saying is that all of you came here searching. All of you came here with a cry, but it was a cry of hope. You were looking for something deeper. You were looking for something that was much higher. And in many, many ways, that's what Midreshet Beirut Bat Ayin is really all about. It's about teaching a way of Torah which is very unique, teaching a way of Torah that really allows students to integrate, to grow, to get higher. And I think that's a very, very important part of this place. And I wanted to say to Rebbetzin Chana Bracha that you created here a very unique and very beautiful vision. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says, Kol hamilamed ben chavero Torah, anyone who teaches another person's child Torah. So it says, Ma'aleh alav katuv ki'ilu yaldo. It's as if you gave birth to that child. I want to tell you, Rebbetzin Chana Bracha, you have a lot of children. You have a lot of children because a lot of students, Baruch Hashem, have come through here. But I want to say that something else happens when you come to Midreshet Beirut Bat Ayin. Most students that come here, Baruch Hashem, usually stay in Eretz Yisrael. And that means that they get married here and they have children here. So not only do you have a lot of children, but you have a lot of grandchildren here as well, Baruch Hashem. And that's, I think, a very, very big zchut. I think it tells a lot about what you